I'm coming. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Oh, it's quite my goodness, it's quite a rainy day out there today. I'm the Grand Arbiter, and this is T. How are you all folks doing today? We're very excited to bring to you these teas every week. I hope that we see some folks. Oh, I see some folks appearing. I'm not alone in the universe, thank goodness. So today I don't have a ton for us to specifically talk about, but we will be talking about some rules and judgment calls that we'll be making for our upcoming. No silk. Oh, no, not today. The silk is too nice. It is raining in Oceania, and that means that when rain comes down, silk gets sad. And Madame Askew is in the comments. Hello, Madame Askew. It's lovely to see you. I'm very happy to see you. So we have this lovely thing in Oceania. I know that it's very shocking, but at some points during the year, actually almost every day, water comes down from the sky. I know that's hard to imagine for you folks living in Arizona, but it happens that rain falls down. That's what we call it when water falls from the sky, rain. And it ruins silks. And silk plus water does equal sad. That is correct, my intern Supreme. Silk plus water equals sad. So we wore instead the very fashionable jacket. We will be discussing some key elements. Oh, don't start me talking about New Orleans, because New Orleans has a number of challenges in facing it. But regardless, we can talk about several different things today. One of the things we will be talking about a little bit is our upcoming tribunals for wayward teapots who have gone astray. Yes, wet silk would be terrible, so we avoided it altogether. No wet silks. Hashtag no wet silks. But we will be talking a little bit about, hello, Yogi, about what constitutes a failure of a teapot. What, pray tell, does it mean for a teapot to be one that has lost its way? The key element of a teapot is spillage, is a reoccurring concern with wayward teapots. So it could be the way they're shaped or the way that they pour, but if tea escapes the containment unit of the teapot, that makes for a wayward teapot, particularly if it's done during a pour and it's because the spigot doesn't pour correctly. Very poor teapot execution, quite frustrating, deeply unfortunate. I was running slightly late today, coming from a meeting at the laboratory to fix some things, build some new swords and things. Very exciting. But that means that my tea is not yet ready, which is making me very anxious. I need the tea, need it. Yes, this is the mustache of the Grand Arbiter when he's waited a few days. When I'm in the laboratory working on experiments and trying to balance some things out on our end here in the Oceanic Research Facility, I sometimes go days without shaving because of the amount of work that I have to put into it. And therefore I develop a facial attachment. Unfortunately, due to my genetic disposition, my facial features really don't go farther than this in terms of facial hair. It's kind of stuck at this size. That's sort of as big as it gets. That's fine and acceptable, but you know, it can be somewhat disappointing to our beard-loving clientele and friends. Such is life. So at this point, yes, it does take great sacrifice for me to grow this beard in terms of sacrificing my time and effort, and I get distracted and then beard occurs, and it's kind of a gangly, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo type thing that is just deeply unfortunate. Speaking of unfortunate things, so in times, at times we like to discuss unfortunate things to establish what is unfortunate, what needs to be rectified. One of those things is teapots. If your teapot does not there's some lovely teapots of cute shapes and cute designs that if those teapots are poorly designed or poorly shaped, it will cause them to leak quite terribly. Bulbous teapots are usually the biggest culprit of this because of their large spaciousness. They have lots of places where they can leak or have spillage. You don't necessarily want a large teapot for your tea. You want one that is consistent and regular. You want one that you can remember is going to work every time. For example, one of the teapots that we recently got, a fine piece of china, is sort of an oblong shape that's sort of like this, like a little half circle type thing. The skinny base with the tall top allows for the porridge to pour the tea in a more delicate manner so that it flows evenly into the teacup rather than all of the tea moving from the back end of the teapot to the front end of the teapot and then spilling out everywhere. Lozenge-shaped. That's right, madame. Lozenge-shaped teapots are the way to go. They are preferred. If they are shaped like a big round oval, probably not a great teapot because the tea will sit at the bottom, and then when you tilt it to pour the tea, all of the tea comes rushing out, and if it fills up at too much at one end, it will potentially get out of the top of the lid, or it will flow incorrectly out of the spigot into the teacup, causing splashage and spillage and quite disarray and chaos. So that is what, yes, oval bottom pops, not acceptable. Lozenges, lozenge-shaped. Yes, it is about oval size as well. So you could do okay with a squat oval, but it needs to be not so large that it has too much tea in it for it to be quite explosive. Yes, the tea must flow correctly, and size does matter. It's the size and the shape. If the size and the shape aren't correlated correctly, it will cause all the things to break. No balance will fix it if the pot is so large. No shape can fix it if it gets too large. But that becomes another issue because something the other keep in mind is the weight of your teapot. We have some very strong, combat-ready interns ready to lift and move teapots in an aggressive manner. But if the teapot is too full of tea with great exuberance, then it can cause quite chaos with the sheer weight of the tea moving from one back end of the teapot to the front end of the teapot. And it's correct. It's not about the size of the spigot either. The spigot doesn't have to be that large for the tea to flow properly. Actually, a small spigot can work quite well because a small spigot will allow the tea to be more controlled because less tea will come out the front than with the larger spigot. Large spigots can tend to be splash-inducing. Not bueno. One of the other things, we're still talking about teapots, Renee. Still talking about teapots. I additionally do not have questions this week as no one has reached out to us with questions. So if you have questions, you can ask questions in the comments and I will respond to them live in person with the Grand Arbiter. Ta-da! This is my hands doing a jazz hand. Ta-da! Gentle handling is always preferred with all teapots because teapots are tenderly made of china or other ceramic. Ceramic is delicate. You don't want to drop it. And you don't want to swing it around like it's a whip. You want to be gentle. It's a kindness to the teapot. It's not You don't want to be wild and crazy with your teapot. That's how teapots get broken. That's how teapots fail. So correct. Gentle handling for teapots. Yes, and you can get jazz hands, Arbiter. What is the best chemist tea? Well, in generally, we do not recommend mixing teas with illicit substances other than ones that have already been approved by the Grand Arbiter and Madame Askew in general. So that could be sugar, it could be lemons or milk, but not together. It could be a libation that is you are of age to consume, but this insanity not gonna be not acceptable for tea dueling, not acceptable for the steampunk world. So, sorry, I'm like reading your comments and trying to like figure out what to address next because there's a lot going on in there. One must use the reach around teapot. Oh, okay, no, that is, okay. So teapots, you want to be gentle with them, but you don't want to like hold them from the parts that are hot. You want to hold them from the base and from the handle, because the base and the handle are going to be the places that you're going to hold it. If you try to hold it from where hot tea is coming out, you will burn yourself quite horribly. That would be very bad. So yes, Madam is correct. Whiskey is appropriate as it is a libation that if you are legal age to consume. If you are under 21 years of age, you're making it very hard for me to focus. Creative Play Podcast. But yes, whiskey is good in terms of a tea mix. You want to make sure you're picking the right tea for your alcoholic beverage, of course, because alcoholic beverages are, they're a nice touch to any tea, but if they're too strong or too acidic, they can impact the taste of the tea in a way that's not as pleasant. Are we whisking the tea to make matcha? No, we're not making matcha today. Matcha is a complicated process that requires a lot of steps that we are not currently going to be prepared to talk about. But it is St. Patrick's Day. I am not wearing a ton of green as I am historically not Irish, but I am also in the safety of my own home where there will be no pinches to be placed upon me, which is lovely. But it is a lovely holiday in some respects. I don't have enough expertise of the history of the holiday to talk about it too much. It's something about snakes in Ireland and the power of God or something. I'm not sure. It's scaring snakes out of Ireland. I don't really understand the premise, but I probably could get it if I did more research. No, you can't virtually pinch me. I am far away in an unpinchable location, a secret, unfindable location where I will not be able to receive any of your pinches. I also have secret arbiter mortal combat techniques to defend myself if my safety barriers are broken. So yes, and just so we're clear, in general, it is not recommended to pinch the arbiter for any reason against his will, without his knowledge, as this is a way to irk him quite greatly and cause, let's just call it, Chandra, let's call it no pinching, no poking, no physical engagement in a way that would be deeply uncomfortable for the Grand Arbiter. Vexing me is a bad plan, because ultimately I will make some tea decisions that will be not in your favor. It's like the Hunger Games. You don't want to piss off your sponsor. That's correct. Cosplay is not pinch consent. I don't and I will fight you off. I will be very, very defensive. I will do some defensive maneuvers. Thank you for posting the full tipple agreement terms, Madame Askew. We really appreciate it. Does anyone else have any specific questions? Because if not, I can talk about some things that have been irking me, that have been existing in the universe, and we can talk about how odd and strange they are. If that's something that we want to talk about, because ultimately, I am underprepared. The Grand Arbiter is ready for chaos in most instances, but there was many, many things to clean up after we escaped, when we escaped the failure of our coup. We needed to, I needed to get back to my day job, cough, cough, which also meant that I didn't have a lot of time to prep, cough, cough. A best Irish tea. So tea doesn't really grow in Ireland, to my knowledge. I'd have to do some additional research, but Ireland doesn't really develop tea because it doesn't have the right conditions. You need a mountainous region with not a ton of ocean context, with a fairly high elevation in order to grow tea. And it doesn't grow super well in those environments, to my knowledge. But the thing that has been irking me is about something you may all know about, because it is the time of Easter. And that means there is Easter candy. Thank you for explaining Irish breakfast, Madame Askew. Assam is from India, and Irish breakfast is a blend of those teas, but isn't from Ireland in its growth. It's grown in India. Thank you, Madame Askew. In terms of things that are irking me, it is Easter time. And the reason that Easter is frustrating to me is for a marshmallow technicolor monstrosity that has gone too far. And that is the Peep. Now, I don't know how many people know of this candy-coated, brightly colored terror, but the Peep is horrifying for a number of reasons. One, it's entirely made of marshmallow, which, while enjoyable on their own, is quite odd as a single solitary Peep. It's just too much sugar. A secondary element of the Peep is that it's brightly colored in a way that no food should be colored. Bright robin's egg blue, which is on my never use list of colors. If anyone ever wants to know my never use list of colors, we can talk at odds about the problems and challenges of robin egg blue. But robin egg blue Peeps, bright yellow daisy colored Peeps, bright green like the color of grass and lies Peeps. Peeps are quite horrifying, but not as horrifying as the Peeps I found last week when I had gone to the market to partake of chocolates and partake of teas and to buy some lovely different varieties of foods to go with my teas. I made the foolish mistake of walking through the Easter candy section and discovered that there are sour Peeps. Peeps that are tasting like sour cherries or sour... No, the interns don't go for me. The interns are on vacation, clearly. It's vacation scene. But there are sour Peeps. Peeps that not only have all the horror that involved with a marshmallow monstrosity, but that are also taste sour. So they taste like sour cherries or sour watermelons or sour whatever. Sour candy is an enjoyable treat and challenge for those who enjoy them. But the concept of mixing sour taste and marshmallow is just unacceptable. It's quite cruel. It's quite unusual. And I feel like they must be destroyed on sight. Honestly, I cannot really determine if I've ever seen a grosser candy than Sour Peeps. I am quite irked by it, and that is what is deeply unfortunate in the world today. I just wanted you to all know that Sour Peeps are on my do not ever give the Arbiter as a bribe, as he will destroy them and give you zeros for everything you've ever done in your entire life. Zeros for you, zeros for your whole family, zeros for your entire genetic line. Quite horrifying. We're all okay now. We are safe from the peeps, however, in my anti-pinching safety zone. I do wonder if the gentleman robot has a stance on peeps, although I'm pretty sure that the gentleman robot has no strong feelings about food, as he's a robot, and I don't think he consumes such things. Like, we've seen him consume tea on occasion. Yes, if you have a peep-themed teapot racer, I will come for your racer in the night and leave it a burning husk on your doorstep. But yes, Gentleman Robot doesn't consume food to our knowledge. He might consume tea, as he has an occasion, but that's, I think, for a lubrication rather than, and libation, rather than for, like, fuel. And it's been clear, we've been made aware that Pepper, Dr. Pepper, who created the Gentleman Robot, also thinks peeps are an abomination, which, you know, that makes sense. That if she doesn't like them, then her creation probably doesn't like them either. Yes, and robots should not chew on marshmallow. It will stick their gears and they will be totally useless. Let me check our time. I'm going to press your faces for a minute. Okay, so we have about 8 minutes till it's been about 30 minutes. So I'm going to take a few more questions, and then we're going to go really just cleanse ourselves with some tea and some treats and some food. And I'm very happy to see all of you, by the way. I know I've not really greeted all of you, but I've been trying to, like, maintain my train of thought, and each one of you is such a beautiful angel of joy and wisdom that it can take some time to really get back on track if I greeted every single one of you. But I'm very happy to see all of you there. So I do have some time for some additional questions. If anyone has some additional questions for... currently, it is unmade. The tea is not in my possession because it's currently unmade. It has been quite a day. The stormy weather made it very difficult for us to get back to the lab after the meetings that I had today. So I did not have time to do all the boiling of water before I started. That is such. Goodbye, Renee. I hope you have a lovely day. And be safe out there in the world. So please, if you have any additional questions regarding things that irk me maybe, or things that are about teapot racing maybe, about your feelings about how we might judge a teapot racer, if you have questions about tea dueling rules or judgment calls or things that we might be planning in the future, we would love to hear some questions if you have any more. Tea. Yes, Yogi. That is, I'm assuming that there's more to that sentence, but currently the only word there is tea, which, while a lovely word, is... Oh, yes, we'll also talk about fashion, because we're working on some lovely new clothes that might... Oh, I don't know, get displayed at some conventions in the near future. My favorite teas are either one of two types. So I only really like black teas. I will consume green teas on occasion. But my favorite teas, I'm a big fan of the Earl Grey cream. I'm also a big fan of Darjeeling, of course, as it is the greatest thing that has ever come across the land. But those are some major concerns. Madam Askew, what is the theme for your Helldorado Parade performance? Because I am not on the lingo, as I am not in your neck of the woods right now. I believe it's stories of myths and legends of Halloween is, I think, the theme that will be launched for that process, but I'm not quite sure. Lady Grey is good, but I have a negative reaction to bergamot. I like it in small doses, but ultimately bergamot is a very strong flavor, which is what gives Earl Grey and Lady Grey its taste. And it very much overpowers my palate from time to time. So it's hard for me to not have it with, like a scone or a bicky. Because if I'm having it just, like, because usually I'm drinking tea in front of the light box trying to solve some mysteries of the universe and really just solve some problems and do some arbitration digitally over the internets. But I do love the Earl Grey cream. I also, of course, love my own variety of tea. The Superbe Decree, which is the Superbe Decree of the Grand Arbiter, which is also a lovely tea, which has a tisane flavor, but it's a very lovely... it's very lovely to consume in terms of like the flavor's rich and complicated, and but not overpowering, which is what I really want from a tea, which is interesting but not going to take over my whole life, because my life is my life to live and I have to maintain entire control of as much as possible. 50 Shades of Earl Grey. What is what? Chemist Tea Girls, what are you wanting? I know that you are my frenemies, arch frenemies, in fact, but I'm not sure what you're asking for in this question about what is what. I don't know, but regardless, so I hope this was an enjoyable afternoon tea. We'll hopefully be a little bit more organized next week. This week just got a little bit away from us, so that's how it goes here in the Oceanic Labs. I'm understaffed with the number of I'm understaffed. I don't have any of the interns here. We leave them all in the primary lab. The side labs, they're just too understaffed right now, and we've lost a bunch of interns. Well, so many just exploded and turned into mist. So, no, red blood mist is not a good look on an intern. So I don't have any assistants out here, so it can be sometimes a little bit jarring. But maybe if you know some folks, for those who are out in the Washington area in Seattle, I am looking to start organizing the Grand Arbiter's Grand Board Game Nights at some point, like a monthly event that you can show up in steampunk gear and play board games with me, the Grand Arbiter, because you know my love for games. So if you're in the Washington area, or if you know folks in the Washington area who would like to do board games with the Grand Arbiter on a monthly basis in Seattle, please let them know, or let me know. You can contact me through the Madam Askew Facebook page or my own personal page. And I'd love to see what kind of scheduling we might want to do to see what the best day to schedule that kind of event would be. But as it's getting late, if there's no more questions, because I'm going to poke your faces again, I'm sorry. As there's no more questions, and we're about to hit 30 minutes, as such, we're going to call it if you have no additional questions. So I'm going to give it, like, count 5 for you guys to put your texts in and whatnot, and then I'll bid adieu. And just so you know, if you are interested in board games and you want to hear Grand Arbiter's opinion on specific board games, that is definitely a question you can ask the Grand Arbiter. For my tea days, I love talking about board games and have a lot of experience working with and critiquing board games. Why is tea brown? So I believe that tea is brown due to oxidation. Although I think Madame Askew has got better science on tea colorage, but I believe that tea is brown due to the level of oxidation in the leaves for when the leaves when the leaves release their tea goodness in the hot water, that the oxidation colors what the tea color is based on how much it is. So we'll discuss more of it later. I'm sorry, I don't have the experience to answer this question effectively. But next week will be Madame Askew, and we'll be able to talk about colors of teas and tannins and things that are important to what makes a tea a tea. The week after that is Monopoly's new pieces. I have no feelings about Monopoly's pieces because Monopoly is on my do not playlist, because Monopoly's, there's a fun factor that is calculated, which is the amount of fun that we can gain from a game and the amount of chances that I'll lose friends from playing a game. And Monopoly is low on the fun factor and very high on the losing friends factor, which makes it a difficult game for me to play. It is correct. Anti-Monopoly game zone. It's true. But I like new pieces. The new pieces are cute in concept and the execution is nice. And it's good to replace pieces that people don't know. I mean, the thimble is a great piece, but it doesn't make any sense if people don't know what a thimble is. Like, I know what a thimble is. Madame Askew knows what a thimble is, but there's a lot of future tech that is coming out in the seamstress world that makes the thimble obsolete, which is quite sad. But we can talk about board games, not this week, but next week. If you have questions specifically about board games, specific board games that I like, I can even review board games that you want. If you want recommendations for board games, I can give those too. So any amount of guidance that you'd like to give us on what games we like and which ones we don't like and why, I'd love to talk about them. If you want me to review a specific game, just let me know and we'll talk about it. I really love you all and appreciate you so much, and we will see you next week with Madame Askew. Have a lovely day, and the game Risk is a mixed bag of awful because dice are the devil when it comes to that game. And we can talk about that later too. You have a lovely day, and goodbye.